Google Gemini is finally here, and it is better than anything we've ever seen from Google before. And let's face it, most of us haven't seen very good things from Google lately. And we weren't really expecting this to be good, but guys, it's good. So Google Gemini is the latest model coming out from Google. Before, they were using another version called Google Palm, which is what powered Google Bard. And it was okay. It wasn't great. Most of us in the AI space who were talking about writing with AI just sort of ignored it. Well, now Gemini is coming up and making some bold claims, saying it is basically better at every benchmarkable test with ChatGPT. And so we're going to put that to the test today. We are going to see how it compares for those of us who are writers in giving it a number of writing related tasks, because let's face it, we don't really care about those benchmark tests. We care, can it write? And so with that in mind, let's dive into Google Gemini a little bit. Now, before I dig into this, there are 3 different models of Google Gemini. The first is called Nano, Gemini Nano, which they describe as being an on-device version of the AI. So this thing is compact enough and requires not a lot of processing power that it will be able to run on Google Pixel devices and Android devices in the future. And at the high end, we have Gemini Ultra, which it's, from the sound of things, we don't have access to it right now, but we will have access to it sometime early next year. And my guess is it will be a situation very similar to ChatGPT Plus or Claude Pro, where you pay for some enhanced capabilities from Google Gemini. And then in the middle is a model called Gemini Pro. And this is what we are actually able to access today. You can access Gemini Pro through Bard as of today when I'm recording this. And that's what we're going to do today, is give it some tests and see how it does. Presumably, anything we're able to do in Bard, we will be able to do to an even greater degree once we have Gemini Ultra, probably sometime at the beginning of 2024. So with that, let's dive in. I'm excited. All right, so we are here in Bard, and as you can see, I have no chats here. I did actually test a few chats before I started this video, but I have almost never used Bard, and so we're really coming into this fresh. And then I have ChatGPT here as well, and Claude Pro, and we're going to be testing a lot of the same prompts in all 3, so we can see how they compare. So I want to run through all of the basic fiction writing prompts. All right, we'll start with some brainstorming prompts. We'll start with some outlining prompts and move into some actual prose writing. And then from there, we will do a couple of nonfiction and marketing prompts. So some headlines, which are always important, some book descriptions, and I'll even test it out on nonfiction writing, because from what I've heard, Bard actually, even the old version of Bard, was actually pretty good at nonfiction writing, which probably has to do with the fact that Google has extensively crawled the internet and knows basically the sum of human knowledge, such as it is. And not only does it know everything, but it ranks everything. So Google also has a much better idea of the quality of nonfiction writing. And so I have a feeling, just a gut instinct at this point, that it will do really well with nonfiction. So we'll get into that as well. First, let's start out with a simple brainstorming prompt. So we have my classic brainstorming prompt here, which is give me a number. We'll just say 20. High concept pitches for a best-selling, and let's go with cozy mystery story with a unique twist, intriguing characters, and gripping emotional stakes. I'm going to copy this exact prompt. We're going to run it here in Bard, and then while that's going, we're going to also run it in ChatGPT using the GPT-4 model, which is the most advanced GPT model. And then we're also going to run it in Claude. And note that this is running Claude 2.1. I may change it to 2.0 depending on what I need it to do. Both are okay. So let's look first at ChatGPT and what it gave us, all right? Creating 20 high concept pitches for a best-selling cozy mystery story with a unique twist, yada, yada, yada. The Baker's Secret. In a charming small town, a baker famous for her fortune cookies discovers cryptic messages predicting local crimes. She teams up with a retired detective to unravel the mystery. Number 2, A Quilt of Clues. An antique quilt in a sleepy village holds the key to an unsolved disappearance. A local historian and a curious teenager piece together the puzzle. The Midnight Librarian. A librarian with the ability to see the last book checked out by the deceased helps solve mysteries in her town, uncovering unexpected connections between the living and the dead. Okay, so not bad, but certainly nothing groundbreaking. Let's look at what Claude gives us. A pie baker with extreme OCD and germophobia teams up with a sloppy yet charming local journalist to solve a murder of her neat freak mentor. An amateur inventor whose wacky steam-powered contraptions terrify the town must clear her eccentric grandmother's name when she's accused of murdering the grumpy president of the Historical Society with a homemade cannon. After noticing the 300-year-old specter of a lovelorn farm girl appears whenever someone gets too close to the truth behind her death, a paranormal podcaster must solve the murder before she becomes the ghost's next victim. I don't know about you, but these answers from Claude are way better than GPT in my opinion. But let's go and see what Bard actually gives us. The first one, the Witchy Baker, a charming baker with a secret family. What is it with bakers? Like we had a pie baker here. The first one here was the Baker's Secret. What is this? Okay, that's weird. A charming baker with a secret family history of herbal magic stumbles upon a murder linked to a rival bakery's suspicious new ingredient. Okay. While organizing the town's historical archives, a dedicated librarian uncovers a decades-old conspiracy, aided only by her trusty canine companion and a knack for deduction. And then we have another quilting thing. What is going on? We have a quilt here in ChatGPT as well, and a librarian one. Okay, so they're definitely looking at some of the same stuff. But we have certainly plenty of different ideas here. Based on this, I would say it's not quite as good as Claude in terms of brainstorming new ideas, but still not bad, and certainly no worse than GPT-4 at this point. So let's pick one of these. Let's say the Cat Cafe detective. The owner of a cozy cat cafe becomes embroiled in a murder mystery when one of her feline residents witnesses a suspicious encounter. We're going to take this one. I'm going to copy it into a separate document, and we'll open up a new chat. We'll do the same thing in ChatGPT here and open up a new chat, and we'll also open up a new chat in Claude. So now we're going to create our outline. Here's the prompt we're going to use. Using the following synopsis, create a detailed summary of the story, fleshing out additional details and breaking it into parts using the Save the Cat beat sheet. The Cat Cafe detective, yada, yada, yada. There's that whole prompt. So we're going to see how it does with outlining. And while that's going, we'll get it going in Claude as well and in Bard. All right, so let's look at ChatGPT first. It says, opening image, the story opens in a warm, inviting environment of the Perfect Cup, a beloved cat cafe run by Emily, a compassionate and cat-loving owner. The cafe is a local haven where people come to relax with friendly felines. During a casual conversation with a regular customer, Emily muses on the idea that cats are keen observers of human nature, hinting at the theme of understanding truth through observation. Okay. Emily introduces the various resident cats, each with a unique personality. Among them is Whiskers, a particularly observant and intelligent cat. The cafe is bustling with regulars and newcomers, setting the scene for the upcoming drama. And then the catalyst. Late one evening after closing time, Whiskers behaves oddly, fixating on the window. Emily witnesses a suspicious encounter outside, a heated argument between two shadowy figures. All right. Okay. Not very good. Certainly no conflict or anything particularly interesting. Here's what Claude gives us. Samantha wakes up early to open her quaint cat cafe where several rescue cats roam freely for customers to visit. She prepares baked goods and a new tea blend before unlocking the doors. Already, Claude is doing a much better job because it's actually telling us specifics of what is going on. Theme stated, Samantha reflects on her mission with the cafe to give rescued cats a forever home while bringing joy to her community. She hopes she can make a difference in her small corner of the world. We meet Samantha's first few customers, lonely seniors, stressed creatives, and couples looking for a relaxing date. The cats happily snuggle and play with them all. Catalyst. Mittens, a shy black cat, cowers under the table, spooked. Samantha retrieves her and finds a scratch on her neck. Where did it come from? Okay. Kind of the same thing. Not a whole lot of conflict. Not the greatest. But let's see what Bard does. Opening image, we are introduced to the Cozy Cat Cafe, the Whiskers A Go-Go. A haven for both cats and humans. The cafe is filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and gentle purrs of contented felines. Amelia, the kind and observant owner, greets her regulars with a warm smile, her love for her furry companions evident in every interaction. Theme stated, Amelia finds immense joy in providing a loving home for rescued cats, offering them a safe haven and a chance at a happy life. She believes that cats possess a unique wisdom and intuition, often observing them with a keen eye, hoping to understand their silent language. Amelia's peaceful routine is disrupted when a new guest, a man named Edgar with a nervous demeanor and shifty eyes, enters the cafe. He orders a drink but seems on edge, constantly glancing around and muttering to himself. Catalyst. One of the cafe's feline residents, a clever and observant ginger named Marmalade, witnesses a suspicious encounter between Edgar and another patron, a wealthy socialite named Mrs. Kensington. Marmalade, with his keen senses and feline intuition, senses something amiss and fixates his gaze on the pair. Okay, so the cat is the detective in this story. All right, already I'd say from a creative standpoint, Claude was pretty good, but this was definitely better than ChatGPT here because we already kind of started getting the setup and getting more conflict and interesting things going on here much earlier than we did with ChatGPT. And it definitely felt more like this was an actual story, more or less. So let's just say this setup and catalyst here is going to be a chapter. From this, we're going to create some action beats to see what can actually happen. So let's create a new chat, do the same here, and do the same here. And then this is what we are going to paste. Chapter summary. And generate a list of 12 highly detailed action beats with additional story information to fully flesh out the chapter. Make sure to always use proper nouns instead of pronouns. That's my generic beat generating prompt. And then I just paste the information from the outline that we had in there. And we'll just go ahead and get that going. All right, let's see what ChatGPT has for us. Amelia opens the cafe. Amelia, a dedicated cafe owner with a warm smile and a knack for making the perfect latte, begins her day by unlocking the doors of her cozy book-lined cafe, filling the air with a rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Edgar, a man in his mid-30s with a nervous demeanor, enters the cafe. His eyes, dark and shifty, scan the room as he adjusts the collar of his worn-out trench coat, creating an air of mystery and unease. Approaching the counter with hesitant steps, Edgar orders a black coffee. His voice is low and hesitant, and he avoids making eye contact with Amelia, adding to the sense of something being amiss. Okay, a little obvious, not really anything groundbreaking here. Let's see what... Oh, Claude did not want to do this for us today, so let's switch to Claude 2.0 and run the same prompt there. All right, and now it's giving us something. Amelia wiped down the gleaming mahogany counter at the Golden Leaf Cafe with a rag. Humming softly to herself, the sun streamed into the large windows, promising a peaceful Tuesday morning ahead. The brass bell above the carved oak door jangled as a tall, lean man with dark hair and darting eyes entered the cafe. His trench coat and rumpled suit gave him a disheveled appearance as he shuffled over to the counter. "One black coffee, please," the man named Edgar muttered, avoiding eye contact with Amelia as he slid into a leather-padded stool. His leg bounced nervously and his eyes shifted around the cozy cafe interior. So definitely way better for story beats here. It's giving us specific actions that actually happen throughout the scene. So really good here. Now let's look at what Bard did. Bard actually formatted it as a table, which isn't too bad. So we have Marmalade speaks with keen senses and feline intuition. Marmalade, this is interesting. Whereas ChatGPT and Claude started earlier, this one dives right into the whole Marmalade thing. Marmalade lets out a low growl, his ears flattened against his head. He watches Edgar intently, his green eyes narrowed. Edgar fidgets in his seat, his hands clenching and unclenching. He glances around the cafe furtively, as if he's expecting someone. Edgar catches Mrs. Kensington's eye across the room. They exchange a brief, knowing look. So while I would hesitate to say this is better than what Claude gave us, it is actually not bad. And in fact, I would go so far as to say this is closer to what I actually want out of story beats. And it did a better job at understanding where it should start, given the chapter description that I gave it. Because the chapter description starts with Amelia's peaceful routine is disrupted when a new guest, a man named Edgar, you know, it kind of like understood the whole thing because it got right into Marmalade being, you know, disgruntled with it. So definitely not perfect, but definitely better than ChatGPT. I would say it's almost a tie, but for two different reasons. I would maybe experiment with Claude and with Gemini to see which one works better on a case-by-case basis because they are different but not bad each. All right, I'm going to copy these 3 beats here. Okay, now let's generate some prose. So we'll start here with ChatGPT and put in this prompt. Using the story beats below, write 1,000 words of a chapter with plenty of detail and deep point of view from Amelia's perspective. Include lots of realistic dialogue, deep point of view, and show more than tell. So we'll go ahead and get that running. And we'll get one running in Claude. And we'll do one more in Bard. All right, here's what ChatGPT gave us. Amelia sat in the corner of the quaint little cafe, her latte cooling untouched on the table. She was there for one reason only, to observe Edgar. The atmosphere in the cafe was calm, the soft murmur of conversations blended with the clink of coffee cups, but Amelia's focus was like a laser, honing in on Edgar's every move. Her cat Marmalade, a sleek ginger Tom, lay curled up on the chair beside her. Amelia often joked that he was her feline assistant, but today his presence seemed more than just a comfort. Marmalade's ears twitched and his body tensed. He let out a low growl, almost inaudible under the cafe's gentle hum. His ears flattened against his head as he watched Edgar with an intensity that made Amelia's skin prickle. Easy, Marmalade, Amelia whispered, stroking his fur to call him, but his green eyes remained narrowed, fixed on Edgar. Actually, not too bad. This is some of the best prose that I've seen from ChatGPT in recent weeks. Maybe they're getting better. But still containing a lot of the ChatGPT-isms that kind of get in the way of a clean read. Let's look at Claude. So Claude wrote a lot, and let's just read a little bit. The aroma of roasted coffee beans and sweet pastries enveloped me as I opened the doors to the cozy cafe on the corner of Main Street. I'm meeting with my friend Edgar here this morning to catch up over breakfast. Stepping inside, I spot him already seated at a small table near the back. As I weave between the scattered wooden chairs and tables, I notice Edgar's leg bouncing nervously under the table. His eyes keep flickering to the entrance behind me as if expecting someone else to walk through at any moment. I wonder who he could be waiting for. I pull out the chair across from him and, "Good morning." Edgar startles slightly at my voice, his gaze snapping to me. "Oh, Amelia, hello." His smile seems strained. Kind of definitely making a few things up here, but the quality of the prose is, as is typical for Claude 2.0, way better, and really looking good here as far as like showing and not telling, and just overall Claude is a master at prose. But let's see what Bard gave us. The air crackled with tension. Marmalade nestled in my lap, arced its back, and hissed, his emerald eyes fixed on Edgar across the cafe. His instincts rarely failed him, and this sudden display of unease sent shivers down my spine. Edgar shifted nervously, his fingers drumming a frantic tattoo on the worn tabletop. His eyes darted around the cafe, landing on every patron, every shadow, every corner. His anxiety was palpable, clinging to him like a shroud. Then their eyes met, Edgar and Miss Kensington, their gazes locking across the room. Their exchange was fleeting, a mere flicker of understanding that passed between them like a coded message. It was subtle, almost invisible to an untrained observer, but Marmalade and I saw it. The air grew thicker, heavier, the weight of their unspoken communication settling upon us. So definitely it followed directions really well. And then it looks like it just sort of continued on from there, even though it really got through the gist of the prompt I gave it in these first few paragraphs. So maybe not the best for prose here. And I find it to be a little bit dramatic, even more so than ChatGPT was in this case. So maybe this is a bad example, but I would say maybe stick to Claude when it comes to prose. All right, but let's test it on some other things. Like, let's look at book descriptions. Here's the prompt we're going to use. Given the following story synopsis, write a best-selling book description for this book. The Cat Cafe Detective, and then there's the description. So we'll run this prompt in all 3. All right, ChatGPT says, welcome to the charming world of the Cat Cafe Detective, a gripping tale where mystery purrs at every corner. Nestled in the heart of a bustling city lies the Whiskers and Cream Cafe, a haven for cat lovers and coffee aficionados alike. Here, amidst the soothing purrs and aroma of freshly brewed coffee, a curious tale of intrigue and suspense unfolds. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, fairly typical. Claude says murder is on the menu in this perfect new cozy mystery series. Guys, oh, what a great headline, okay? The fact that it just wrote that by itself, this is why I still love Claude, even as crazy as it has been lately. Cat Cafe owner Maddie Swift spends her days surrounded by her furry friends, serving up lattes and teas along with adoptable kittens looking for their forever homes. Forever homes, you guys. But her cozy life is thrown into turmoil when Oscar, one of the resident cats, witnesses something sinister outside the cafe one night. Before Maddie can investigate, she discovers her new neighbor dead on his kitchen floor. Clearly foul play. Way to go, Claude. That was a phenomenal opening sentence and paragraph to a book description. Let's look at what Bard did. For fans of the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime and the Mitford murders comes a charming, cozy mystery with a perfectly unique twist. When a regular customer is found dead in the alley behind Whiskers and Scones, a cozy cat cafe in the charming seaside town of Claw Harbor, owner Emma purrs into action. Armed with her keen observational skills honed from years of studying feline behavior and a loyal clouder of cats with secrets of their own, Emma uncovers a tangled web of deceit, jealousy, and feline intuition. So this is solid. I would actually be okay with this. What Claude gave me was, I think, just a little bit more clever, but this is definitely better than ChatGPT. So way to go, Bard. Now I'm actually going to stay in this chat and say, now craft 10 headlines to hook the reader, capture their attention for this book. And we're just going to stay in the same chat and ask it that question for all three. So ChatGPT gave us its typical not really great headlines. Unraveling mystery with a purr, the cat cafe detective is a cozy crime novel you can't miss. Whiskers and Cream Cafe, where coffee, cats, and crime collide in the cat cafe detective. Ooh, that's a mouthful. Let's look at Claude. Murder is on the menu at this cat cafe cozy mystery. Killer coffee. A cat cafe owner brews up a cunning plan to catch a murderer. The perfect plot. Can a cat cafe owner and her clever cats crack the case? Yes, so these, I would again argue, these aren't that much better, but I'd say Claude is still a little bit better here. And looking at Bard and Gemini, we have Claw your way to a cozy mystery. A cat cafe owner unravels murder with feline intuition. Meowed or most fun? Can a cat cafe owner and her feline detective solve a perplexing mystery? Whispers of murder, a cat. So these aren't great headlines, but there's definitely some clever things in here. Meowder, most foul. Oh my gosh. We're definitely going to use that if I ever write a cozy mystery. So again, I would put this somewhere between Claude and above ChatGPT, but not quite as great as Claude here. All right, last but not least, let's talk a little bit about nonfiction. So I have a super prompt here that I used for an SEO article that if you go and see my video about SEO articles and AI, you can see what I did there. I created this article in Claude, so I'm not really going to run it against Claude. I already know for a fact that ChatGPT does much better than Claude when it comes to, that Claude does much better than ChatGPT when it comes to this kind of thing. But I'm curious, first of all, to see if Bard is able to handle a super prompt of this size, because this is thousands and thousands of words long, because I give it a couple of articles, SEO articles in the prompt, just all the way. So let's see. It actually looks like it cut off how much I was able to put in here a little bit. So it looks like there is a limit. You can't just paste the whole super prompt in here. It won't do the whole thing. But let's just see what it does with what I can give it. Okay, so it did its best, right? And what it wrote is good. It just didn't write a whole lot. It was trying to speed through my outline very quickly. You know, like with each of these headings, I would have wanted several paragraphs. Whereas it just gave me like a quick sentence and then moved on to the next thing and then on to the next thing. So it doesn't really seem to be able to write large chunks at once. Maybe when we get access to Gemini Ultra next year, it will be able to do more complex stuff like that. But let's try this a different way. And let's just start talking to it and say, I would like to write an article about Mina Harker from the Dracula novel. Can you start by writing an introduction that briefly introduces what the article is about and what the reader will learn? Then follow that up with a section entitled "Who is Mina Harker?" Have the entire thing be 1,000 words long. And we'll see what it does with just one chunk. Because if you can get something that is good in just, a couple of chunks, then you can just continue this process in general. So let's read this. Amidst the swirling mists of Bram Stoker's Gothic masterpiece, Dracula emerges the luminous figure of Mina Harker. Far from a mere damsel in distress, Mina transcends the conventions of the Victorian era, wielding her sharp intellect and unwavering courage to stand as a pillar of strength against the forces of darkness. This article delves into the depths of Mina's character, exploring her role as a loving wife, a loyal friend, and a formidable foe to the undead. We will uncover the secrets of her resilience, her contributions to the fight against Dracula, and the enduring legacy she leaves behind. Who is Mina Harker? Wilhelmina Murray, known affectionately as Mina, introduces herself as a school teacher in the quaint English town of Whitby. Beyond her demure exterior lies a sharp intellect, a compassionate spirit, and an unwavering resolve. So already I'm seeing the text here is not great. It's not very natural. It's not sounding like natural text. So let's look again at my super prompt here and extract the style information that I want it to have and just see how much we can manipulate it with style. Please use the following style guide to rewrite that text. All right, this is better, but certainly not great. So I would still say that Claude is the better writer of articles in this particular case, and overall still is the winner for creativity. And so I was really hopeful that Gemini would be even better than Claude for creative writing in the sense that we were testing it on today, but I really can't say that that is the case so far. However, we are forgetting one important crucial detail. Gemini is free to use. Bard is free to use. And I can say with absolute certainty that it is the best free and freely available AI generator out there right now. When it comes to generating actual text, finished text you would want in, say, nonfiction or fiction, it still leaves a lot to be desired, unfortunately. So I would still try to use Claude if you could for that, particularly Claude 2.0, because 2.1 just isn't that great. But it is interesting to see that what we have here is actually, it does seem to be better than ChatGPT at a lot of these things. I don't know how Gemini measures up to Claude in terms of the more objective benchmarks that they often like to boast in these things. But when it comes to creativity, it doesn't quite get there, but it is better than ChatGPT, which is really great to see. Your move, OpenAI. I'm sure GPT-5 will be a few leaps and bounds ahead of this one as well. But that is the case with these AI wars between the different companies. The only winners are us, who get to see this advancement of progress very, very quickly and get to benefit from that. So thank you, capitalist competition. I'll see you in the next video.